Good evening, class. This is Mrs. Pender Harrison, and tonight you're going to be taking notes on the argumentative essay. Go ahead and pause the video to set up your Cornell notes. Remember, you're taking notes in the note-taking area only. If your notes go onto more than one page, you can continue this line all the way down to the bottom. You're only going to be writing a summary at the end of your notes, and we'll do the RQ essaying with the Q column in class next time I see you. Okay, so our focus for the next couple of weeks is going to be on argumentative writing. One of the questions that you're going to want to ask yourself is, how is this different than other types of writing maybe that I've done before? Compared to something like a literary analysis prompt or an essay that might focus more on symbolism or metaphors or themes or tone or motifs, the argumentative essay is very different. The argumentative essay is less about interpreting figurative language from a text, so metaphors, personification, hyperbole, and it's more about constructing a logical argument. So in your essay, you are expected to create a logical progression of information. It also includes a counter-argument, which a literary analysis essay does not. You might remember writing a persuasive essay in middle school. They're very similar in that they are trying to persuade their audience to believe in your claim or your point of view. But a persuasive essay focuses more on pathos or the emotional appeal. Please, principal of my high school, let us have free dress days because, and then those essays usually tend to rely on an emotional appeal, whereas an argumentative essay focuses more on logos or the logical appeal and ethos, the credibility appeal. And also, unlike the persuasive essay, an argumentative essay has a counter-argument. So these are some things to keep in mind when you are writing your argumentative essays. First, we're going to start off with the claim. The claim is your answer to the prompt. It's often considered your thesis statement, although in argumentative writing, instead of using thesis statement, we'll often use the term claim. But really, all you need to know is that in argumentative writing, these two are the same thing. Your claim should include vocabulary words from the prompt, but should expand on the idea, which means that you shouldn't just have a yes or no answer to the prompt. You should have a because or a therefore. You should have some sort of explanation for your answer to the question being asked. The next piece of your argumentative essay is your evidence. These are the facts that support your claim. Your evidence needs to be objective, which means that it's unbiased. If you're writing an essay arguing that the Raiders are the greatest sports team in the world, but your evidence is coming from someone's Twitter feed whose handle is RaiderFan99, that's not really objective evidence. Your evidence also needs to be cited properly to avoid plagiarism. Your warrant. This is the reasoning or argument that leads your evidence to the claim. You will explain how your evidence supports your claim in the warrant. I want you to imagine that you are a lawyer and you have the best possible case. All of your evidence points to the defendant's guilt. You have gunshot residue on their hand. You have video surveillance of the crime, you have their fingerprints, you have their DNA. But if you took all of that evidence and you walked into a courtroom and you dumped it out on the floor, you wouldn't win your case. The warrant or the reasoning or the argument is what makes your case. It's what makes your essay. So you could have the best evidence in the world, but unless you argue it correctly and argue it in a way that your audience can understand, your evidence doesn't really mean anything. The next step you have in your argumentative essay is a counterclaim. This acknowledges your argument's potential weakness. Your counterclaim might even cite counter-evidence, which is evidence that supports the other side. When you're writing your counterclaim, the question you want to ask yourself is, what might someone who disagrees with you say about your argument? It's important to include a counterclaim in your argument because it acknowledges that there are other people who have different opinions than you. Now, in order to make sure that your counterclaim is effective, it needs to be followed by a rebuttal. A rebuttal is the reply that offers a solution to the counterclaim. So, if you're imagining you're debating with another person, their response to your argument is the counterclaim, but your response to their counterclaim is your rebuttal. So how would you respond to the person who disagrees with your claim? Let's look at an example. On the left, we have an example of a persuasive essay on animal testing. Something that says, like, animal testing has benefited human health. People do not contract polio anymore because of the vaccine tested on animals. And as you can see from this essay and the color key down at the bottom, this essay is all claim, no counterclaim. On the right, we have an argumentative essay on the same topic, animal testing. All of the sentences in pink are the counterclaims. And if we look a little bit closer, we'll see an example. Again, on the right, the argumentative essay is arguing for the advantages of animal testing. But even in their first paragraph, they have a sentence that says, despite these benefits, some people believe that animals should not be used for testing medical techniques and drugs. You'll see that it's peppered throughout the essay and that the author will address each counterclaim as they come up in their essay. Finally, your conclusion. Your conclusion is arguably just as important as your introduction. This is the ending of your argument and the resulting ideas, and it should not just be a restatement of your claim. The two questions you need to answer in your conclusion are, so what, and why does this matter? Your conclusion should not end with ta-da, or the end, or that's all, folks. Your conclusion is an opportunity to link your argument to the wider world. What implications does this have on school, on politics, on philosophy, on human interaction? Why does your topic matter? Let's practice. I want you to pause the video and write down this this prompt. Some people argue that it is necessary and appropriate to sacrifice some forms of freedom for security. Agree or disagree with this statement and give evidence to support your statement. What are some of the important vocabulary terms that you are going to need to include in your essay prompt? I want you to pause the video and try and circle all of them. Let's see if you got them all. Necessary, appropriate, sacrifice, some, freedom. Can you guess the last one? Security. What does necessary and appropriate mean? Those are terms that you're going to need to define in your essay if you are writing this one. Sacrifice is another really important word to talk about. What do we mean when we say sacrifice? Some forms of freedom and security are an interesting phrase too. How much is too much freedom to sacrifice? And security is another term you're going to need to define. Are you talking about cybersecurity, physical security? What does that look like? We're going to continue to practice with argumentative essay writing over the next couple of weeks. Make sure that you keep these Cornell notes in your binder at all times. Have a good night.